Mohanad Hage Ali is the Deputy Director of Research at the Beirut Malcolm H. Kerr Carnegie Middle East Center. Joins us now from Lisbon. Good to have you with us. So can we take an overall picture and digest everything that's come out of Switzerland on Lebanon? And let me ask you, what's your conclusion? Is the conflict in Lebanon now at least contained, under control, or is it just waiting for another spark?
Yes, the conflict now in Lebanon is waiting for another spark. It just became a buffer zone, a kind of a boxing bag in which anyone who wants to score, whether to get at the US-Iran negotiations, which Israel, Bibi Netanyahu specifically, is not very happy about, they can sabotage the talks through a Lebanon escalation. The same applies also to the Iranian side. If an Iranian faction or a regime faction is unhappy with the negotiations or how the negotiations are going, they can sabotage them through the Lebanon front. So in that sense, it's an arena in which any side can score and try to send a message to the negotiations themselves. So I think it's still in the volatile phase, and I think it will remain so.
I thought you might say that, Mohanad. So let me ask you this. What about this deconfliction cell, though? How is that supposed to work?
Yeah, I mean, the deconfliction, and now we have these different layers of it. You have the mechanism, basically, which has the United States, Israel, Lebanon, and the UNIFIL. And then you have this new mechanism, which also is trying to work with both sides of the conflict, trying to end any tensions or any escalation if it happens or when it happens. But then at the end of the day, if an attack occurs on either side of the borders and is interpreted as an escalation that requires a response, things can go out of hand. It's just basically so entangled with the negotiations process that I think it's quite difficult to call it a day and say this is a real ceasefire. I think this remains difficult.
Then I've got to ask you the question: what is Israel's end game here? Then we know the official line. They continue until they eliminate the threat of Hezbollah. But what's been reported in the press is that the Israeli army has said they can't do that unless they occupy the whole of Lebanon, and there's some skepticism that they can even achieve that. So then what is the end game that the military operations are working towards?
The military operation established this new security zone, and then it moved on to destroying every single building infrastructure in that security zone to make sure that the population does not return to these towns and villages across the border from Israel. So the end game is, one, having this, completely controlling it and keeping it under the control of Israel. So no withdrawal from that region. And then grabbing more territories beyond that security zone so that Israel can actually bargain with these territories, with the Lebanese state, to disarm Hezbollah. Of course, this is not working, especially after Iran put the Strait of Hormuz on the table. Now, any attempt by Israel to go up the escalation ladder, Iran can meet by escalating in its conflict with the United States. So this is a great bargaining chip for Hezbollah and for Iran, and I think it's working.
You mentioned the Lebanese government, but in reality, you said so the Israelis want to bargain with the Lebanese government. How much leverage do they have? Is the reality that they kind of sidelined in all of this?
Definitely sidelined, and first, they were sidelined also by the United States, which is the one that has invested throughout the past decade and a half in building the Lebanese armed forces, supporting the Lebanese government and the Lebanese state, so that when we reach this moment, when the Lebanese state has to step in and disarm Hezbollah, they will have enough power to do that. And what Trump did in the negotiations is basically he sidelined the Lebanese. He's not even mentioning it. He's not mentioning the Lebanese government. Now it's all basically what Iran will do, what Israel will do, in order for the Strait of Hormuz to be open. It's no longer about the Lebanese state and what it would be capable of doing. Specifically, that Trump himself started this new DC track in which Israel and Lebanon are negotiating. I think the Lebanese government's only hope is that Israel would try to focus on the DC track as a way out. But what Hezbollah and Iran are signaling is that they want to go back to the November 27 agreement, which basically means there's no need for negotiations. We go back to the old agreement, and we do disarmament. That's not really fully implemented, just partially, or
right.
An aesthetic is implemented.
Well, I want to briefly ask you to go back on a point you mentioned, though, about they're destroying the areas in the south. 20 UN special rapporteurs, independent human rights experts on the 15th of April talked about the evidence pointing towards Israel conducting ethnic cleansing. I mean, is that what's going on? And what kind of implications would that have for Lebanese society, for the whole balance of power?
There's no doubt that this is ethnic cleansing. From day one, blowing up mosques, churches, destroying even roads. Asphalt is being destroyed, demolished. Israel even targeted the land registry in that part of the region. Why would you destroy documents pertaining to the ownership of land in these areas? So it's a total wipeout. And the Israeli defense minister made it a point to say that the residents of South Lebanon are watching their homes being destroyed, and they have to understand that they're never going to come back.
Right.
And that's ethnic cleansing. That's textbook ethnic cleansing statements.
Okay.
The type that we've seen in Serbia and during the Bosnia War, the types that led to criminal courts being set up and also trying Israeli officials. So in that sense, it's a clear policy, right, that doesn't want to see the population on the border. Not Hezbollah, not armed forces, not a certain type of military assets. People are not allowed to be in these towns, although they've lived there for centuries. Right. So yeah, there are implications on Lebanese society. Lebanese society is struggling with demographic changes, and I think this will definitely impact them.
All right, Mohanad Hage Ali there from the Beirut Malcolm H. Kerr Carnegie Middle East Center. Thank you so much for joining us.